What's up, world? I'm Mr. Vaca, and today I have a special, very special episode because I have the incredible Kimberly Lane Clark from Google to talk about the future of education. Welcome, Kimberly. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you. It's a pleasure to be with you today. I'm a fan of yours, so I am just delighted to be here with you.
Yo, you are too kind. Honestly, though, I'm a bigger fan of yours. There's no way that you could even be a fan of mine because I've been following you even before you were a Googler. When we were in the trainer program, I was watching all the things that you were doing. And then when I heard that you were making the shift to Google, someone that has been in the education world for her entire career, now making moves at Google for Education, I was like, gosh, this girl is living the dream. Let me tell you. So the fact that you reached out to me to talk about what you have created, this trend forecast report for 2022, it's the future of education, and you have these three trends that I want to talk about. This document that you shared with me, and I'm going to put a link to the description in the description box below.
Yeah.
It's like 60 plus pages of basically, as an administrator for education, like everything that I want to talk to my staff moving forward in professional development and like goal setting for the upcoming future. This document is absolutely brilliant. Like, thank you for you and your team for putting this together. Has this been something you've been working on a while for?
And thank you again for inviting me, Bill. So really, when we're thinking about this, kind of classes back in session, as students and teachers around the world, we're back on campus, exploring the hallways. We were just talking about this before we kind of got on prior to us speaking today. And so I would just really be remiss if we didn't really address the challenges in education and leaders had to overcome during COVID-19. And I'm going to get back to your question. And so, really thinking about the pressing the global issues and how the accelerated rate of technology innovation has happened. And really a lot has changed. And so during the classroom over the past few years, as the world continues to evolve, we really have learned how to learn and how we will evolve as well. And so as we move toward this radically different future, and I know you've seen this as well just over the past 2 years, we've kind of asked ourselves, what should the role of education be and how might it look? So to answer your question, we collaborated with the research partner Canvas 8 and the research advisor American Institute for Research, and it's AIR.org. And so it's kind of to conduct a global study in 24 countries that synthesizes insights of 94 educational experts. 2 years of peer review, academic literature, and the media narrative analysis across the education sector. And so I know that was a lot, but to answer your question, kind of the 2 years of the peer review, 94 educational experts, we partner with Canvas 8 and the American Institute for Research to gather this article that we're going to talk about today.
I knew that it had to be a while that you've been looking at all of this, and that it was highly influenced by what happened in 2020. But to know that you've been working on this for the past 2 years is fantastic, because even in just the past 2 years, even just this year alone, in my own personal district, the shift in education hasn't stopped. Even though things have started to go back to normal, what we're expecting of the students and what we're getting them ready for is not reverted back to what it was. No. It's drastically changed. And even with things that are coming up, like I've been in so many meetings just last week alone, from computer-based testing to graduation rates for different departments like technology here at the high school, and college graduation rates, and what the different academics are, all these different projections for the next 10 years from all these different organizations. And then coming back to this, reading this and all the trends, it just exemplified everything that I've been hearing and what we need to do to get our students ready for tomorrow. So it's been a really interesting ride, and I love that you broke it down into the three trends. So it's really kind of easy to explain, but a lot that you can dive into. So for the first trend, you have rising demand for global problem solvers. Can you tell me more about what that is all about?
And I'm kind of thinking about what you just stated as well, and kind of what happened these past 3 years and really just over this decade. And it also means kind of developing the mindsets and shifting the skill sets as to how we evolve and teach and learn. And so with this trend, thinking about the rising demand for global problem solvers, as the world faces a new set of global challenges, we're as education is a central part of making sure that our future generations embrace this global mindset. And so I was really thinking about this when I was kind of going through it and looking at some of the other trends that are driving the rising demand of global problem solvers. Thinking back as an educator, I remember working with some amazing young ladies at this blue ribbon school that I started teaching in Texas when I first moved to Texas. And I live in Texas, by the way, everyone. And so it was a graphic design class. And, this trend really, really gave me some thought. And this was probably like, I don't know, 6 or 7 years ago when I was teaching these young ladies. But these young ladies were extremely advanced and they taught me a lot as well, to be honest. And so this was really when we were just diving into Google. I think it was Google Apps for Education at that time. And so for me as an educator, it was always important for me to see the why in anything that they learned. And so thinking about this trend again is the rising demand of global problem solvers. Problem-based learning was a great way to bridge the rim of the reasoning as to what we were doing. And so taking you back to this classroom with the students, at the current time, the students were planning for a senior prom. And so at that time, we didn't have enough for like desserts. We were planning it. They were the ones that were able to plan their entire prom. And so that's one thing that you're thinking about. How do we help the demand for problem solvers, give the students the ideas, give the students the way that they're able to do this? But this was a project in itself. But the students were also working on a graphic design. It was a project about creating for businesses websites and logos. And so I decided to actually invite the dessert company. Once the students finished their project, and I think it was maybe 6 weeks that they take for each one of their problem-based learning projects. And so I invited the Sugar Sweets judge to actually judge their projects. And so the entire class at the end won free desserts. One of their logos was actually used. And I've noticed on their website that the logo is still there to this day. And so this is as real world as it gets. And so I'm saying all that to say, when we're thinking about what we're doing for making sure that we're preparing our students for these problem solvers, we always have to kind of think of the 4 C's. And in order to solve complex problems, students need to become self-directed learners. And so this is just one example of how they were able to do this. But collaboration was key there. And so students that were seniors are really busy, but one thing I will say that saved them was Google Docs and being able to collaborate with each other.
Right. So what you said, there's so many things, and I love that you told everyone you're from Texas, because I'm from New York. And as an administrator, one of the things I have to do is go through 36 teachers a semester and do observations. And we use what's called the Danielson rubric. And if you were to basically do a 1, 2, 3, 4, 4 being the highest that you can get, 1 being you need a lot of work. And the difference that would separate a 3 and a 4, the main difference is that the teacher gives the students the ability to take control, to take over. And in order to do that, you have to give them the ability to problem solve and let the students then do the problem solving on their own, figure out the troubleshooting steps, come up with ideas and solutions on their own without the teacher guiding them, saying, okay, here's what you got to do, here's what you got to do. You just let the students kind of take over and they can take control. So that, in my mind, is best practice. Yes. And that isn't just like a New York Danielson thing. That's clearly what you're doing right now. And what you've explained here in Trend 1, what you were talking about in your example from Texas, is getting the students that ability to troubleshoot, to learn on the fly, to be a problem solver. I mean, look what we just went through in the past 3 years. What did teachers have to do? An effective teacher had to do some serious problem solving and troubleshooting on the fly and face all these new challenges, and everyone overcame them. But the people that were able to do that little bit more effectively and efficiently, we're able to succeed at a whole new level and get ready for that. So using the students to take control, I think again will be huge, just like as you said. Um, and problem solving is not going to ever disappear
No.
for a need for anything. I mean, that's what I basically do all day is troubleshooting, even though it's not with technology. Sometimes it's human resources troubleshooting. It's still the same basic philosophy and concepts, no matter where you apply it to, no matter what field you apply it to. Those skill sets, I think, by identifying them and getting them to be that central part of the solution will be huge. Okay, so moving on, we have our second trend, and that is the change in skill sets required for work. So we're talking just about how problem solving is a skill set that isn't going to change, but
Yeah.
just like 20 years ago, the jobs that we have today necessarily don't match what we had 20 years ago. So what do you think is going to be important for the new skill sets that we should be focusing on in education, teaching our students for the next 20 years?
And this is one that I think goes hand in hand in terms of the rising demand for global problem solvers, but also changing the way our skill sets, shifting our mindset as well. But what's required for work does require a different set of skills. And so we saw this within the past 3 years as well. And so as technology is advancing, how are we going to equip our students for this high demand skills, some things that we haven't even thought of in terms of the job occupations? Thinking back, Bill, when you and I were in school, some of the jobs don't even exist nowadays. We really didn't even have that, I guess, idea of what would be available, especially, for me, when I think about it as well. So with this trend, one statement that really resonated with me in terms of kind of what made me pause and think about the future of education, it said by 2025, technological change will see 97 million new jobs created, while 85 million existing roles will disappear.
That's wild. I mean, when you think about it, like 20 years ago, social media, Facebook came around in 2000 when I was a freshman in college. And like now, so many people, their jobs revolve around social media, and that's their entire job. But that's just like one small thing. 10 years ago, when I was teaching first grade, all of my little first graders were saying, I want to be YouTubers when I grow up. Now, like, absolutely, you could be a YouTuber as a side gig and have that supplement, car insurance for the month. Maybe you're not living off it, but it's part of your job, following your passion. It's pretty wild. One of the things that you have in your article that really stuck out with me was the idea that you educate for jobs is an idea of the past. Today, you learn to create your future, to create your job. And that's kind of exactly what I'm doing in a way. Like, I have my job, I work in an education field, but I've kind of been able to, in administration, mold what I'm doing and not just be an assistant principal, but use the instructional technology and my passion with instructional technology to bring our building to a whole nother level. Our district, the whole YouTube as well, like just following that. Again, I've created my own job, my own little niche, and that is going to be what we see in the future. Another cool thing that I saw, and I'm going to put a little layover here in the video, the top 5 in-demand skills by 2025.
Yes.
That I thought was huge and something that I want to share with my district at our next professional development meeting so that they can see, because this is not just what I've seen from Google's presentation, but from many other organizations and professionals across the education community. This is pretty much within not the top 5, the top 10 in-demand skills, and we got to get them prepped.
And one of them that really is still there is complex problem solving. And so I find myself, even in this role, in terms of problem solving or kind of thinking outside the box, or being one of the skills that it named as well, active learning strategies. Like, what does active learning strategies mean? But still, that's all one key denominator there is problem solving. Even if we're analytical thinking or active, learning strategies, problem solving is still there, and being able to think logically. And I know that we see this on a lot of the assessments. I'm pretty sure you see that in New York, where we're building this comprehensive plan of students learning how to critically think. But what does that really mean in the real world, though?
Right.
We can take a test, multiple choice, because I've critically was thinking on this multiple choice question and I got the answer right. But what does that mean actually in a world where 97 million new jobs will be created by 2025? How do we prepare our students for that?
Right. And it does. I keep using the word troubleshooting, but that's really what it is.
No.
It's problem solving.
Yeah.
100%. And having that as your foundation, being able to be flexible and apply those learning strategies that you've learned to do that critical thinking and analysis, to be innovative in finding a solution, thinking outside the box, something that we've heard and been trying to push. That really is going to be the critical steps on our next generation of jobs coming through.
I also look at it as when we talked about like PBLs, which is problem-based learning, and thinking about how we give those tasks to students, and some of the things that you were speaking to as well in evaluation. And so, I remember at the beginning of going to my last school district, and we kind of embarked on a STEM journey. And so STEM really now, I think it's a buzzword, but I do know that a lot of school districts are really trying to implement the STEM journey and the engineering design process. But I remember our students building a plane and a car. Now, what better way that you can implement problem solving, active learning strategies, the complex problem solving into that when students are realistically building a car from scratch? Think about all the problems that they had to come about. So I think it really provides students with empathy. It really provides students with that piece where they can, if they're in a field later on and, engineering or automotive or whatever the case may be, they can think back to that actual problem that they had in school and relate it to what they're doing now. So I think that's one way how we can prepare our students for jobs that don't even exist, by just really looking at those 5 skills that are in most demand right now too.
Absolutely. And then you take those skills and you can transfer them to whatever career you want to do. Absolutely. And it doesn't matter if you change jobs or change complete different fields, it doesn't matter as long as you have that basic skill set.
Absolutely.
It's huge, huge. I think that perspective moving forward and getting that ingrained into our students, letting them know that you don't have to have like an exact path right now at 18, knowing that you want to go right here. But if you at least get this foundation, whatever you decide, even if you're 37 years old and you decide, I want to now go into this field, you will have that base, that lifelong learning mindset that should have been instilled as a student, even as educators. If you're a teacher, you're a lifelong learner. No ifs, ands, or buts. That's why you're part of the profession. You've acknowledged it. You've moved towards that mindset that you are going to always take professional development courses, always be trying to better yourself. And that is exactly what Trend 3 is, the shift to a lifelong learning mindset. So how do you feel that we are going to be able to do that? Or what should our focus be on for the next few years to get this trend moving?
Lifelong learning is not a new concept. I think we've heard it a lot. I know you probably have when you were in school and in graduate school, and honestly, throughout my college years, I've always heard you need to be a lifelong learner. You need to be able to learn how to shift your mindset. But it really resonated with me during the pandemic, to be honest. I've been out of college for quite some time, and I'm not going to share my age, but I've been out of college quite some time. And so I just remember, looking at some of the learning management systems, because I majored in education technology when I was an undergrad, and this was something that really wasn't heard of in the early 2000s. And so just trying to figure out some of those problems that our professors gave us, really, it still didn't dawn on me until during the pandemic as to why it was so important for me to have a learning mindset, because there are failures that happen. And so it really shifts a collective mindset as an individual. But, looking back, I really think that I was just eager to learn more. And that's one thing that, I would, just tell this audience in terms of the trends. It's a trend because we're looking at the future of education. We're looking at how it's going to evolve with our students. But in order to evolve, we must have that mindset that we're needing to shift the way we teach and the way we learn, which is, foundational for anything, I think, when we're dealing with education.
Absolutely. And that is something that we see at the high school, elementary, middle school,
Yeah.
even just within, if you were to go in the past 7 years, I would say every 2 to 3 years, you'll hear staff saying, oh, this crew of students is so unlike the last,
Yes.
so different. And then if you just take a step back a little bit farther, it's so true. What I was teaching 12 years ago compared to what's going on in the classroom now, like classroom management, behavior, the same, communication, the same, learning how to add and subtract, the same, but how you go about instructing that is so vastly different.
Mhm.
And to our high school students, one of the things that I find a lot of students will complain about is saying, Mr. Vaca, why do I have to learn this chemistry? Like, I'm never going to use this chemistry in my life. It's pointless. I hate it. I'm not paying any attention. And my explanation to them is, you're not learning chemistry. You're learning how to always learn. And yes, you may never need this tool again, but you're going to learn how to study. You're going to learn how to memorize formulas, and it's going to give you the tools that your brain is basically, you're lifting weights with your brain so that when you get out into the real world, you'll be like, oh, if I could master this chemistry test, then there's nothing that you can't throw my way. I can learn anything, a new language even. So I think trying to get students that mindset, that philosophy, you're right. As teachers, we get it all the time, but it's sometimes a little difficult for me to get students doing that, to understand that. But it's interesting because when you're in the elementary, I feel that the younger students have that. And then as they get older, they lose that. And then as they get older again, it comes back. You're like, oh, wait, I am a lifelong learner. I do need to keep learning. I always am learning. But something that I thought was interesting was, even for myself, I'm constantly learning. Just the other day, we're learning how to build. Check this out. Ready?
Oh, yeah.
Hold on. We're learning how to build. All right, check this out. I am learning how to build a soccer drone ball, and we are building this from scratch. And I mean, everything, the blades, propellers, we're learning how to code it, and we're going to learn how to do drone soccer. And the way that I learn, especially in the way that I've learned best my entire life, is visually. But
Yeah.
the past 5 years, I have thrived on YouTube, on trying to learn anything new, whether it's editing stuff or anything in my, golf swing that I'm trying. So I got an actual manual, like how we would used to learn, and I had to try to put this together, and I could not figure it out. I was completely stuck. And I used to love building Legos. I couldn't get past the first page. It was very embarrassing. I thought I had a fairly good skill set, but then I went to YouTube and just watched a few YouTube videos, and getting that visual component on how to learn, I was able to build this in the next day. And YouTube
Wow.
has been such a massive component in my lifelong learning. And I think that, to me personally, is what I use as the hook for students. And I'm like, listen, you might not think that you're a lifelong learner. You might think this is pointless and that you know everything already and you don't need to grow. But how often do you go to YouTube to learn something new? And they go, oh, yeah, I do that. I do that. And I'm like, listen, you're always going to be learning. When you become a parent, You're going to be learning a whole bunch of new stuff that you never thought you were going to learn, and never that you even wanted to learn. But I think, yeah, absolutely, getting that trend and trying to get students to embrace that, I think will be what helps propel to that next level.
Absolutely. It's about the opportunity also, just kind of the things that you just stated. I was like, wow, the student in the chemistry class, what if there was like a real problem that the students were able to solve, within that chemistry piece, as well of whatever they were actually learning, so that they can see, how they would be able to use it. But one thing that you said in terms of learning how to learn, that's the key there, is learning how to learn. And what you were just speaking to about YouTube. And I've recently found myself, I'm not sure if you're familiar with the Grow with Google certificates, but
yeah, absolutely.
I've recently started one of the courses because I'm realizing that, I hear a lot of terminology. I hear a lot of things, I work at Google, and I want to know what it is. Like, I'm so interested in it. I don't want to be like, when I hear a term that it's just going over my head. So I'm like, you know what? I need to go and study and take one of these certificates with Grow with Google, so that I can learn initially. And I know these were like industry standards that a lot of companies put their thought behind of it. But it's always great to learn something new, whether it's learning how to garden, which I'm not really good at, my husband says, or if it's learning how to build this drone that you're saying. And so what are you all going to use this drone for? I'm really curious.
So it's called drone soccer, and it's become my new passion, like with video games. It's become my new real life video game. And what you said resonated with me, because when you get to this high school level where I'm at right now with my students and they're building the drones, they get to pick what they're passionate about and follow that. And that's where I think you're going to get that lifelong learning and building that passion. And what makes a great chemistry teacher different from your average or non-effective chemistry teacher. If you have that chemistry teacher just doing straight memorization, they're going to have to realize that not every student learns that way.
No.
And that doing that project-based learning, like what you were talking about, that hooks them on why are we doing this. Yes, they're still going to have to memorize formulas or different compounds, but if they can have that connection to, maybe we're learning how to solve a cancer cell issue or something like that, it builds that passion. I love technology and flying, and so I also love Harry Potter. I'm a super nerd. So do you know what Quidditch is by any chance?
No.
Okay. I'm a super nerd, and I apologize in advance. No. Quidditch is drone soccer, but in Harry Potter land. So drone soccer, it's 5-on-5. You're in a cage, full on like netting cage. And it's, imagine 30 feet long, 15 feet high. And on each side, hanging from the ceiling, is a hula hoop. And you have to take this drone in this plastic soccer ball, like it can get beat around, and you have to fly it through the hula hoop. You have one score, and then the other 4 are blockers. So the other team is trying to block the opponents from getting into their goals, while we're trying to do the same thing. And you have 3 minutes to get your drone in as many times as you can. And we are actually having our aerospace course, our senior aerospace course is learning how to build these. And then we are going to be competing in the New York State drone soccer.
Wow.
Hopefully this spring. And we're going to be like the first district in the region. We're going to then hopefully get other districts excited, involved. And then we're going to be doing that kind of stuff. And that is exactly preparing for the future, because in 20 years, drone technology is going to be massive. So we're trying to bring in all these new things and get kids excited for these new technologies, letting them learn, hey, you're learning how to build a drone and you're learning how to fly in a fun soccer game, building that passion, but they're learning all these tips and tricks. And little do they know that they're going to be learning teamwork and all about sportsmanship and collaboration in a class setting of robotics and coding. Nonetheless, once they finish and build their drone, they have to spend the rest of the year talking about, game plan and how they're going to communicate. And that's then teamwork and project-based learning all in one. And
that's all the trends. Those are all the trends that we're just referring to. I mean, literally, that's
Right.
everything. I mean, think about the skill sets that you're saying that you're preparing. Just think about a career of what you're saying that's doesn't even exist now, but you're preparing them right now for that. I mean, that's just phenomenal. I would love to see this game. Like I
Just you wait. We have spent the last month getting trained by this company called CNY Drones,
uh-huh.
and it's really big in Korea right now, drone soccer. And
Wow.
we're just hoping that it's going to, in the next, kind of like how esports wasn't a thing 20
Yeah.
years ago.
Yeah.
Now there's esports arenas getting built, one in Philadelphia. That drone soccer is going to be, the next big thing. But yeah, you nailed it. I love it. I could clip that and use that as my intro right there. That's all the trends in one.
It is. I
Perfect
mean, it's
intro.
literally what we're trying to prepare the future of education, what it looks like. That's what we're trying to do. You just have to embed, and it's all of the core concepts and core concepts in terms of English and math and science, all wrapped into one.
Yeah,
So it's not like it's not relevant at all. And I know you know this, but I'm just excited because the students get to have that real world connection right
absolutely.
then and there. And it's just all about the opportunity. That's one thing that's key to me, that I always try to spread anytime I'm speaking to any educators is just present them with the opportunity, even if you don't know, but it comes in with that lifelong learning mindset as well. But just present them with the opportunity, and that's what you all are doing.
Thank you. Well, I want to present you the opportunity that if you ever come to New York, please come to Mahonison Central School District, and I'm going to get you flying one of these drones, and I'm going to show you drone soccer for real in the wild. And if you go look at my YouTube channel, anyone watching this right now, in some of my prior videos, I've shown how many times I can fly this drone soccer ball through my ring light in 5 minutes. 19 times, baby. I'm going pro. Just you wait.
Wow.
Just you wait. But it's exciting. Everyone. We even have our custodian learning how to build drones because he's so excited. So getting that passion for learning never ends. Getting it all the way through. And that's why I'm so lucky to work where I work, because everyone here, from the teachers to the TAs to the students to the custodians, they just pour out enthusiasm for learning and wanting to do this. So I feel like we're ahead of the game, and I love that Google's on the same page with this and putting this out there for other districts that are, looking to get on this path and trying to explain to their administrators that this is what we need to do, or to their teachers that here's our goals. I think this is going to be really big and critical for educators across the world.
I do too. I believe the same way, and I will take that on you that I will be coming to New York so that I can learn how to fly this drone. I'm so excited. I'm gonna send it to my nephew so that he can see this. I'm gonna send him a clip so he can see this because he's really into anything in terms of coding or flying. He just deems himself as the technology person in the house. So I'll definitely send that to
Awesome. Awesome. Maybe I'll see him on the field one day. We can
yeah.
battle it out with our drones. Well, thank you so much, Kim, for coming. It has been an absolute blast picking your brain, learning about this article, your entire future of education, your mindset going forward.
Yeah, thank you for inviting me, and this was awesome. And so definitely can't wait for the next time to see you in person as well.
Awesome. Well, thanks again for watching, everyone. Most importantly, don't forget to work hard, play hard, and I'll catch you next time.